This morning, the man was scheduled for execution. In the cold, solitary cell of the federal penitentiary in Virginia, the clock indicated that only a few hours remained before his scheduled death. At the very moment when all hope seemed lost, the beginning of an unexpected miracle unfolded, all thanks to a single dog. How could one American Eskimo dog manage to overturn a perfectly constructed murder conviction? And why did the dog disappear, only to reappear on the very day of its owner's execution? This astonishing story, set at the boundary between life and death, invites us to reflect on the true meaning of love. Now, we present the shocking narrative of the events that took place. He opened his eyes in the frigid cell of the Virginia Federal Penitentiary. The wall clock showed 4:37 in the morning. Today is the day, the final day of my life. The small, windowless cell contained only a hard bed, a toilet, and a mirror barely the size of his hand. His reflection had changed dramatically over the last 3 years. The deep wrinkles and hollow eyes shaped by prison life made him almost unrecognizable. "Would you like to have breakfast?" the guard, Officer Michael Reynolds, asked through the small window. "It's not necessary," he replied calmly. "After all, what significance does a final meal hold for someone who has no future?" There was sympathy in Officer Reynolds' eyes. After seeing him every day for 3 years, he had come to believe in his innocence. One of the few who did. 3 years earlier, while working as a developer for a mid-sized tech firm, he had discovered his supervisor, Daniel Parker, lying lifeless in a hotel bathroom, covered in blood. He reported it immediately, but was arrested at the scene. Only a week before, he had argued heatedly with Parker during a project presentation, and co-workers testified that he often voiced frustration with his boss. His shocked expression at the crime scene and the discovery of his fingerprints, they were used as decisive evidence against him. That night, the team had gathered for a dinner at the Hilton in downtown Washington to celebrate the completion of their project. Around 11 p.m., as the drinks flowed, he stepped away to use the restroom. Opening the door, he found Mr. Parker already collapsed, motionless, blood pooling on the tiled floor. Panicked, he alerted hotel security, but by the time police arrived, suspicion had already fallen entirely on him. He was arrested that same night and hadn't seen freedom since. The trial was far from fair. Testimonies from co-workers, fingerprints at the scene, and prior conflicts with Parker painted him as the obvious suspect. The prosecution argued it was a premeditated murder. The court accepted their narrative without question, but the truth was very different. The real killer was Matthew Chandler, heir to a powerful business dynasty. Intoxicated, Chandler had run into Parker by chance at the hotel bar. An argument escalated, and Chandler followed him into the restroom, where he pushed Parker, causing him to fatally strike his head on the sink. Using his family's wealth and connections, Chandler manipulated the evidence, diverting suspicion toward an innocent man. Despite numerous appeals, every attempt to reverse the conviction was dismissed. Eventually, the death sentence was finalized, and now, after 100 days on death row, his execution loomed only a few hours away. At 10 a.m., everything would be over. "If you have any last wishes, please state them," the guard's voice brought him back to reality. After a pause, the only words he could utter were, "I would like to see Snowy." Officer Reynolds hesitated briefly before nodding. "I'll check, but it may not be easy due to regulations." As the footsteps faded, his chest tightened with longing. Snowy, his 5-year-old American Eskimo dog, was not just a pet, but his only family. After his arrest, Snowy had been left in the care of his ex-girlfriend, Emily Carter. Outside the barred window, the sky was still dark, but dawn slowly crept in. He gazed at the stars one last time, wishing for Snowy's happiness and hoping that the truth might someday be revealed. The clock now read 5 a.m. 5 hours remained until his scheduled execution. His mind wandered through every moment of his life. His parents, his school years, his first job, the joyful days spent with Snowy, all of which would soon come to an end. The deepest regret was walking into that hotel restroom that night. Had he not entered, he would likely still be living an ordinary life with Snowy. Waking each morning to Snowy's warm presence, enjoying evening walks through the neighborhood and weekend picnics by the Potomac River. Amidst the silence, he thought he heard Snowy's familiar bark, the sound that had greeted him every morning, but it was only a hallucination, a sound conjured by his desperate heart. Resentment no longer had any place. All he wished for now was to see Snowy one final time, to gaze into those loyal eyes, to stroke the soft white fur, and to say goodbye. The darkness continued to fade from the sky. A new day was beginning, his last. Anxiously, he waited for the guard's return, unsure whether he would see Snowy again or depart this world without that one final comfort. I woke to the sound of the phone ringing early that morning. Checking the time, it was 5:30 a.m. Still dark outside. The caller ID displayed Federal Penitentiary, Virginia, and my heart sank instantly. Today was the day of Ethan Walker's execution. I could barely breathe. "Is this Ms. Emily Carter? We're calling from the Virginia Federal Penitentiary," said the voice on the line. Sitting up in bed, my voice trembled as I answered, "Yes, that's me." "It has been requested that you bring the inmate Ethan Walker's dog Snowy to the facility as soon as possible. His final wish is to see his companion. Please arrive by 9 o'clock. My chest tightened. Ethan's last wish was to see Snowy. Tears welled up in my eyes. Although we had broken up 3 years ago, I had continued to care for Snowy ever since. Ending the call, I rushed to the living room to find Snowy. The cushion where he usually slept was empty. I searched the house, veranda, bathroom, under the bed, but Snowy was nowhere to be found. My panic grew by the minute. At the front door, I noticed the leash lying beside the shoe rack, and the door itself was slightly ajar. I cursed myself for not properly closing it after our late-night walk. Hastily changing clothes, I rushed outside, circling the apartment complex and calling Snowy's name again and again. No response. Frantic, I called my brother, Jason Carter, a police officer who had always harbored doubts about Ethan's case and often helped care for Snowy. "Jason, Snowy's missing. Today is Ethan's execution day. He asked to see Snowy as his final wish." Within 30 minutes, Jason arrived, still wearing his police uniform. I explained everything, including how I'd taken Snowy for a walk around 11 p.m. the night before and found the door slightly open when I woke up. "Where did Snowy usually go on his walks?" Jason asked. "Behind the apartment to Riverside Park. Ethan always took that path after work. It was their routine." We headed to the park. It was eerily quiet in the early morning mist, the dense fog hanging low among the trees, creating an almost otherworldly atmosphere. We split up to search. About 20 minutes later, my phone rang. Jason had found Snowy. He was curled up under a bench in the northern corner of the park, among the tall pines. As I ran toward him, Snowy stood up and wagged his tail, his eyes lighting up. I embraced him tightly, overwhelmed with relief. But then I noticed something odd. Snowy kept scratching at his neck with his front paws, tugging at his leash as if trying to show me something. Eventually, he managed to slip the leash off and placed it in my hand. Jason examined it closely. Inside the lining of the leash, hidden beneath a small flap, was a tiny USB drive. "Snowy, hadn't been acting randomly. He had been trying to lead us to this. In the car, Jason plugged the USB into his laptop. We both held our breath as the files opened on the screen. The drive contained CCTV footage from the hotel lobby and bar where the murder took place. The video clearly showed Matthew Chandler, heavily intoxicated, arguing with Daniel Parker at the bar. Moments later, Chandler followed Parker into the restroom. 10 minutes passed. Then Chandler emerged alone, looking panicked and disheveled. Shortly afterward, Ethan appeared on camera, entering the restroom and then running out in shock. It was irrefutable proof that Ethan was innocent. Jason's voice trembled. This is the evidence that will clear him." There was also a text file. It was a message from Ethan. In it, he explained that he had managed to copy the hotel surveillance footage before his arrest and had hidden the USB inside Snowy's collar, knowing the police would thoroughly search his home. He even identified Matthew Chandler as the true perpetrator. Tears streamed down my face. Ethan had insisted on his innocence all along, but no one had believed him. Even now, I couldn't believe we had finally uncovered this. Jason's face grew serious. "There's no time. We have to get this to the penitentiary immediately. This evidence could save his life." We rushed toward the prison with Snowy in my arms. As I held him, he seemed unusually calm, as though knowing his mission had been completed. A strange chill ran down my spine. How had Snowy slipped out of the house and led us here, to the crucial evidence? Jason focused on driving, answered my unspoken question. "It may have been instinct," he said. "Maybe Snowy went to the park because Ethan wasn't coming anymore. But honestly, Emily, this feels like more than instinct. The loyalty of dogs, especially an Eskimo like Snowy, is extraordinary." We drove through the outskirts of DC, racing against time. The clock read 7:30. My palms were sweating. Jason's expression was determined. He had long suspected that something was wrong with Ethan's conviction. Now that suspicion was being validated. I clenched my hands tighter on Snowy's leash, praying we would make it in time. My only thought now was simple. We have to save Ethan. I lost track of how much time had passed. Waiting alone in the solitary confinement cell felt like an eternity. Around 6 a.m., Officer Reynolds returned. He opened the door, stepping inside and looking at me. "The request for visitation with your companion animal has been approved. At 9:30, you will meet in the special visitation room, 30 minutes before the scheduled execution." My heart sank. The joy of being able to see Snowy one last time was immediately mixed with the sorrow of knowing it would be our final meeting. I wanted to express my gratitude to Officer Reynolds, but emotion tightened my throat. "Thank you," I managed to whisper. The guard nodded and quietly left. Once again alone, I gazed out through the narrow window as the sky brightened. The clock's hands moved mercilessly toward 9 o'clock. Breakfast was offered again, but I declined. Memories of Snowy flooded my mind like a movie reel. I remembered the day we first met, at the animal shelter near my old apartment. While all the other dogs barked and jumped for attention, Snowy sat quietly, watching me. From that very first moment, he had been special. At 8 o'clock, the guards returned and began the formal preparations for the execution. I was given a final shower and dressed in clean clothes. The entire process moved like a cold machine. My body followed, but my mind was somewhere far away. By 9 o'clock, the weight of knowing that only 1 hour remained made my heart race. Soon, another officer arrived and escorted me down the corridor toward the visitation room, my wrists and ankles chained. As we walked toward what was supposed to be my final destination, I found myself desperately scanning the area, hoping to catch sight of Snowy. "A visitor has arrived." Hearing those words, my chest tightened even more. As I entered the room, I saw Emily and Snowy waiting beyond the glass window. Tears instantly welled up. Snowy... My voice trembled. Perhaps with special permission granted by the guards, Snowy was allowed to slip through a small opening between the glass partition, rushing into my arms. The familiar warmth, the soft white fur, the familiar scent, it all overwhelmed me. The chains prevented me from embracing him freely, which made the moment even more bittersweet. Emily, what's happening? I asked, fighting back tears. Emily, also crying, spoke words I never expected to hear. Ethan, Snowy had the USB. We've found the evidence. The prosecution and the Justice Department are currently reviewing your case. The execution is under review. I grasped the meaning of her words, though it still seemed unreal. I hadn't forgotten how, as a security specialist, I had accessed the hotel surveillance system before my arrest, deleted the public files, and hid a backup copy in Snowy's collar. And now, after 3 long years, that very evidence had finally surfaced. Thank you, Emily. My voice trembled again. She wiped her tears and smiled. I always believed you, and Snowy always believed in you too. I gently stroked Snowy's head. Thank you, Snowy. You've truly saved my life. Just then, a guard entered. Visitation time is over. Prepare for the execution. The smile faded from my face instantly. Has no decision been made yet? I asked desperately. The guard shook his head. I'm only following orders. I'm sorry. Emily turned to him, pleading. Please wait. The director is reviewing the suspension order. Can you check again? The guard hesitated and reached for his radio, but before he could respond, the sound of hurried footsteps echoed outside the room. Director Adams, Jason, and a federal prosecutor rushed in. Stop the execution, the prosecutor shouted. The guards exchanged glances, visibly startled. Director Adams caught his breath and spoke. The USB evidence has been officially verified. The Attorney General has ordered an immediate retrial. Overwhelmed, my legs gave way, and I sank to the floor. It felt as if 3 years of pain and despair had evaporated in an instant. Emily ran forward and embraced me tightly, while Snowy jumped into my lap, licking my face as if understanding everything. Everything's okay now, Emily whispered softly, patting my back. Director Adams issued an order to the guards. Uncuff Mr. Ethan Walker. Escort him to the special meeting room. Once the chains were removed, I was finally able to embrace Snowy freely, tears of gratitude flowing down my face as Snowy licked my cheek again and again. In the special room, Jason and the prosecutor explained everything in detail. The evidence from the USB had led to an immediate arrest warrant for Matthew Chandler, and preparations for the retrial were already underway. The prosecutor asked, "How did you even think to hide the evidence in your dog's collar?" I smiled faintly. Because I work in cybersecurity, I knew the hotel cameras would have captured everything. Before I was arrested, I accessed the hotel system, deleted the public files, but kept a copy hidden where no one would search: Snowy's collar. Why didn't you mention this earlier? Why wait 3 years? The prosecutor asked skeptically. I looked down at Snowy. I tried. I told my first lawyer, but even he didn't believe me. And I didn't know where Snowy was after my arrest. I only found out later that Emily had taken him in, but I had no way of contacting her from prison. Emily added, "But how did Snowy end up outside that morning? And why did he keep pointing to the leash?" I paused for a moment. Snowy has always been smart. Maybe when I didn't return home, he went to our usual park instinctively. And maybe, somehow, he knew there was something hidden in the leash. Snowy wagged his tail, almost as if he understood every word. Everyone in the room exchanged glances, amazed by this incredible display of loyalty and intelligence. The clock read 11 a.m. If things had proceeded as scheduled, I would already have been dead by now. But because of Snowy, I was breathing, alive, with a new chance at life. Though the legal process of a retrial and clearing my name was still ahead, I no longer had to fight alone. Emily, Jason, and most of all Snowy were by my side. As I was escorted to a temporary holding room, I glanced up at the bright, cloudless sky. The clear blue above seemed to signal a new future awaiting me. I took a deep breath, holding Snowy tightly, feeling again what a precious gift it was simply to be alive. Jason patted my shoulder. "Rest for now. We'll make sure the retrial moves as quickly as possible." I nodded. In that moment, words weren't enough. Snowy's warmth in my arms said everything. This miracle had all started because of him. 3 months later, the retrial finally began. Walking into the courtroom, I was overwhelmed with emotion. This time, I wasn't escorted in chains. After my release on bail, I had been staying at Emily's house, reunited with Snowy. I still vividly remembered the moment Snowy recognized me upon my release, running into my arms, barking joyfully. The courtroom was packed with reporters and spectators. My case had captured national attention. A wrongful conviction overturned at the last possible moment, thanks to a loyal dog. But for me, what mattered most was that the truth would finally be heard. As the judge entered, the courtroom fell silent. I held my breath as we awaited the verdict. After reviewing the new evidence, the judge spoke firmly. "This court hereby dismisses all charges against Mr. Ethan Walker and declares him not guilty." The words echoed through the courtroom as sighs of relief and applause followed. Tears streamed down my face. I shook hands with my attorney, then glanced out into the courtroom where I knew Emily and Snowy were waiting. The judge continued, "Mr. Walker, you have endured tremendous suffering. Do you wish to say anything?" Standing slowly, I tried to steady my voice. "It's still hard to believe I'm alive. Just 3 months ago, I was counting my final hours. Today, I stand here free because of my dog Snowy. I'm also deeply grateful to Emily Carter and Officer Jason Carter, who never gave up on me. This proves that the truth will always find its way." As the trial concluded, I stepped outside. The swarm of reporters surrounded us, but my eyes were focused on just one place. Emily stood there, holding Snowy in her arms. "Snowy," I called. He barked joyfully as I ran toward them, embracing both Snowy and Emily. The sound of Snowy's bark felt like music to my ears. "Congratulations," Emily smiled. "Thank you, Emily. If it weren't for you, none of this would have been possible." Emily shook her head. "No, Ethan. If it weren't for Snowy, none of this could have happened." I gently patted Snowy's head. "My hero." "Thank you, Snowy." Jason approached and patted my shoulder. "What now? What are your plans?" I smiled after a moment of thought. "First, I want to take Snowy for a long walk, along the Potomac, free, like we used to." That afternoon we went to Riverside Park. The spring sun reflected beautifully on the river. I hadn't realized how deeply I had missed the simple feeling of walking freely. After 3 years of confinement, each step felt like liberation. Stopping on the bridge, I lifted Snowy into my arms. "Snowy, you've given me a new life. From now on, let's live it together." Snowy barked as if he understood, his tail wagging happily. We continued walking, with Emily beside us. Jason followed behind, briefly pausing to answer a call. When he caught up, his face was serious. Matthew Chandler's been caught. He was arrested at the airport trying to flee the country. I nodded. I don't hate him. The truth has come out. That's enough for me. We continued walking along the river path. Snowy ran ahead, then circled back to check on me every few steps, as though afraid I might vanish again. The sight was both heartwarming and heartbreaking. It's remarkable, Emily said softly. Both Snowy escaping the house that morning and guiding us to the USB, none of it feels like coincidence. I smiled, watching Snowy. The loyalty of a dog is something else entirely. I believe Snowy somehow sensed I was in danger. Maybe it was instinct, but sometimes it feels like it was something far greater. We sat on a bench overlooking the river. Snowy curled up peacefully at my feet while I gently stroked his fur. The golden glow of sunset reflected off the water, a view I never imagined I'd see again. If it hadn't been for Snowy, I wouldn't have lived to see this moment. Looking into his eyes, I sensed a depth of understanding, as though animals see things that humans cannot fully grasp. Snowy had known I was in danger and had done everything to save me. Leaning in close, I whispered in his ear, "We'll never be apart again. You are my family." Snowy's loyalty had defeated everything, injustice, despair, even death, and revealed the truth to the world. His pure love was something no power or money could ever buy. As I hugged him again, tears quietly fell from my eyes. As night fell, we headed home. For now, I planned to stay at Emily's house. Snowy seemed perfectly content with that, curling up in his usual spot beside the sofa as if nothing had changed. Yet deep inside, we all knew everything had changed. Lying in bed beside Snowy, I listened to his calm breathing. My mind wandered as I reflected on everything that had happened. Life is strange. In the end, it wasn't the legal system or human justice that saved my life, but the loyalty of a single dog. Snowy wasn't just a pet. He had become my savior, my hope, my family. I whispered to him softly, "From now on, we'll always be together." That night, I slept deeply, without nightmares, for the first time in years. Tomorrow would be the beginning of a new chapter, the first day of a life reborn, with Snowy by my side. Today's story was about a man who faced execution after a wrongful conviction, and the dog whose unwavering loyalty saved him. Ethan Walker, falsely imprisoned for murder, was rescued just before his execution thanks to evidence hidden in his beloved dog, Snowy's collar. Snowy's loyalty and love, far beyond mere animal instinct, uncovered a truth that the justice system had failed to see, creating a miracle that brought his owner back from the brink of death. This is a powerful reminder of truth, justice, and unconditional love. Thank you for watching.